Well, why don't you tell us something about our grandfather?
Well, that was my father, Emil Joseph Hubern. He was born in Wattwil, July 8, 1841, Switzerland. His mother's name was Elizabeth Strassmann, and she was born at Liechtenstein, Switzerland. She was Catholic, but not my grandfather. The children were baptized, but did not remain Catholic, except Aunt Albina, who married a Mr. Weber, and after he died, the wife and children gave it up. My father had three sisters, Albina Weber, Amelia Warren, Ida Swartz. My mother was born March the 13th, 1844, at Saarbrücken, Germany. She died at 47, July 8, 1891. My father died March the 10th, 1896. Our grandfather, Joseph Emil Huber, was born in Bavaria. That's my grandfather.
Your grandfather?
Yeah, my grandfather.
That would be our
great-grandfather. That'd be your great-grandfather.
Was he in the beer business too?
Well, he was when he came here to Peoria. I don't know what he did over there. They came to America when my father was 3 years old, to New Orleans and up to St. Louis, from there to Peoria. My mother came about the same time. They all came to get away from the Franco-Prussian War. The Hubers had the Union Brewery. My father married in 1865. They had one of the largest weddings up to that time. It was held in a big hall on Water Street.
Where was the brewery on Water Street?
No, the brewery, the brewery was on Erding Street.
Down in Bishop's Cafeteria,
Yeah, that's it.
That says Union Brewery.
Yeah, well, that's what it was, the Huber Brewery Union. But it was on Erding. It was kind of on Water in those streets. And Mr. Carl Schober's mother and Minnie Zimmerman's, Ulrich's mother, were there. You shouldn't hand it. Were there. My parents lost a girl, Caroline, about 3 years after Joe was born. She only lived a week, died of lockjaw. 3 years later, Olga came. That's your mother, Joe. 10 years later, I came. When Joe, my brother, was about 12, they lost the business, moved to Webster City, Iowa, then to Lyons, Iowa.
Was it Webster City? That's where Carl Hain is.
Webster City, Iowa.
Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
That it was the same?
Well, I think that your mother mentioned that when we were out visiting Carl. Of course, they had a couple aunts in Iowa too, didn't she?
Yes. When I was on the way in 1882, a man promised my father a job in a wholesale house, so we came to Peoria again. Just a month before I came, moved into a house on Evans Street. When 3 months old, we moved on the bluff. The job promised my father didn't pan out, so he opened a business of his own. We moved in a short time again, as I had been ill, and the old Dr. Stewart said it was too damp in that house, which is still standing on Sheridan now, but Elizabeth at that time. Finally, we landed at Floral and Wyndham, and were there until 1886, when we moved to Eaton, which is Bryan now, between Glendale and Perry, 700 block. House still there. My father, that'd be your grandfather, was for Cleveland. He got a job as a gauger under that administration, so he had to be near the streetcar, which he took on Monroe, left around 6 or 7 in the morning. Then in 1890, when Cleveland lost to Harrison, my father lost out again, so then we moved to Streeter in 1890. In December, came back in May, as my mother was operated on for cancer in January what that is.
How did you make these? Did you just think of all these things, just write them down, or do you have some records?
I have a few records, but all this I remember. I don't know if this January 91 operated on for cancer in January.
Did she die in January?
No. I don't know Well, I've got 91 there. Never had things all unpacked. We moved on Howard Street in one of Uncle Charlie's houses. In May, she died in July. Moved up to 710 2nd Street in September, where I went to the Park School, then to the Lincoln, graduated there in 1896. My brother married in October 1896. In April 1897, we moved up on Fayette Street. He worked for Mr. Benton from 1882 until around 1898. He bought his store on Adams and Liberty from Albright.
That's Albright's that
Mm-hmm.
connected with the wine club?
Yeah, their grandfather. In 1906, he had a store on Harrison and Jefferson. He let Mr. Day run it, and he went to Chicago to Northwestern, taught chemistry, so he used the money he made and went to Germany for postgraduate work. For 15 months, attended the clinic of Professor Friedrich von Muller at Munich. He was offered a position there also at Northwestern, but Mame, his wife, wanted to come back. They moved to 800 block Main Street. As Huber said, Uncle Joe and Aunt Mamie lived down the alley. We used to go through the back way.
The 800 block, that would be
Maybe
where...
it's 900. Let's see.
And they're on Hamilton?
No, on
Maine.
Maine.
It's
On
where
Maine.
between Glendale and the
That
next.
would be 800.
I think it's 800.
Dooley's was 700.
Well, then it's the next block.
They're at Knoxville in Maine.
Yeah, then Gotero was in 900 block.
Mm-hmm.
I guessed at that, but I figured it out. All right. We used to go the back way. My first, and I'm talking about Pa. Do you want to hear that?
Yeah,
Mhm.
sure.
My first real date with Pa was in October 1902. He took me riding. He used to take me to bakery for his mother. Mame used to say she knew when Pa or Della Deborah were coming up the street. I was all smiles. Do you want that?
Yeah.
Who is that, Ardell or whatever?
Della
The
Deborah,
horse?
a girl that I went with.
Oh.
I just loved her to
Of
death.
course.
I thought maybe it was the horses you drove.
Mame used to always say she could tell when they were coming. First time I ever saw Pa was in 1897, October. Mame and Joe had gone to Chicago to buy camera equipment for the drugstore. Olga didn't get home.
Camera equipment.
Mhm. He put in, had about the first camera stuff, I guess, around here. I don't know if they had any, but he had part of the store was for camera goods.
Well, most drugstores did. What
Yeah.
year was that?
1897, in the fall, October. Olga didn't get home until 6 from Avery's, and I had been at Tripp's, came home about 5:30, and I thought someone had been at our windows. Shutters were open or closed. Mrs. Samus used to get water at our place, and she said she had looked in to see if anyone was home. Pa came home for supper, and she introduced me to him, said afterwards I shouldn't be allowed to go in there alone. She said, well, why didn't you go with her? I thought he was the nicest looking man, and used to watch him go uptown, up and down Fayette Street. I guess that's all I wrote about that.
How old were you then?
Well, what did I say that was? October, in 1897, let's see, I was born 15,
What year
Oh,
did
you were
you?
just 15? How old were you when you were married?
21. But you see, at that
Oh, you
time,
knew him 6 years then.
yeah, no, well, of course, at first, that's the first I ever saw him.
Mhm.
She used to talk about Kit and Sis and May, and one day I said, well, you have 3 daughters, and she said, well, no, just May. I said, well, who's Kit? Well, that's my son. And I said, well, who's Sis? And she said, well, that's May.
When was Huber born? Did you mention that?
No, I didn't mention anything.
Did you mention when you were married?
No, I didn't say anything more about
Oh.
myself. I was married in 1904. Your mother, but I thought I heard some more about when your mother was.
Well, then you moved from when you had Huber, you moved from Glendale where then?
Well,
After
after
you
Huber was, we lived on Glendale almost 10 years, and then we moved up on Crescent.
How many
Yeah.
years have you lived in Crescent?
We've been there 47 years.
47 years.
Uh-huh.
So-
And the way we were always going to move, you know, we just keep staying because Pa wanted to be near where the work, so we wouldn't have so far to go. And so one night, I don't know, are you taking this all down?
Mhm.
One night, the Nickets lived across the street from us. They had a fight, and they were throwing dishes and things. And oh, I was scared to death. And I said, Pa, oh man, I was just going on. He said, well, it was terrible. And then another thing, we saw a man thrown out down on the corner. I guess he'd been drinking. He was thrown out. So, and about the next week, Pa went out and began looking for lots. That's how we happened to buy that lot. He wasn't going to stay there any longer.
Mm-hmm.
So then we bought the lot in 1911. That's the year your folks bought a lot. I called your mother and I was telling her. She says, "Well, we bought one today too, but they built it a year before we did."
And you, neither one of you had
No,
known about it.
neither one knew the other was going to buy a lot.
Funny.
Pa came home and he said, "I've got 2 lots. I want you to look at them, see what you think of them, see what you think of." So we drove up, and the first one was this one where we are, and the next one was the one up next to Tripp's. And there were a lot of vacant lots up there, and he really was trying to find out about that one. Tripp's weren't living there then either. The Tripp's and Olga's folks bought a lot the same time. Neither one knew they had either. And so there were some vacant lots there, and so Pa went to John McDowell to find out who owned those lots. And John said, "Well, what do you want to know for him?" Pa said, "Well, I'm looking for a lot." He says, "Oh, I can sell you a better lot than that." He said, "I'll tell you who owns them, whatever it was." And he said, "They're $2,000." And he said, "I'll sell you this one for over here for $2,000." And he said, "This lot's longer; it's 150 feet, and the other lot didn't have any alley to it." So Pa said, "You see what you think of them." So I didn't care. Oh, it didn't make any difference to me. I didn't. So it was another place, you know. So I said, "Well, I didn't care whichever one he thought." And he said, "Well, with a boy, I think it'd be better if we had an alley and a longer lot." So we decided we took that lot. So,
When did you mention when you lived on 2nd Street with Olga?
no, I was just trying to think of when Olga was married. She was married in 1900. And Mattie Tripp and I waited on the table. Mattie never's forgotten that, how, they all sat there and she was just dying because Joe, my brother, was a little bit like Huber about things. And Reverend Fable was a minister, you know. And Mattie and I were standing out in the kitchen and we were just poking each other and just laughing. You know. And Joe was, now would you ask the blessing? Oh dear. Uncle Doug was there, and Uncle Si and Uncle Judd were at the wedding.
The
Well, I
aunts
didn't
weren't
know
there?
that.
Yeah.
No,
Weren't
that-
the aunts there? Aunt Letty?
No, they sent a great big caramel cake that Letty was famous for.
Yeah.
Lovely caramel cake,
Mm.
and yeah, they were there.
What year did you move from 2nd then? I mean,
1897.
and then
So Uncle Joe and Aunt Mamie were married in 1896, and then they stayed there till April 1897. Then we moved up on Fayette Street,
What
lived
year
there
did
8 years.
Uncle Joe die?
1917.
Mm-hmm.
February. It'll be see how 7 from 11. It'll be 44 years. 20. I think it's the 27th of February he died.
Mm-hmm.
is the house on Fayette standing where you live?
No, they tore that down for the YMCA.
That's funny you mentioning, kids said that with a boy ought to have an alley.
Yeah.
Huber know that?
Well, I suppose I don't know.
I mean,
And
it's
another thing,
important.
one day the other
Say vacant lot.
The other day I said, "Oh, I know Mrs. Tripp used to always say, you certainly were lucky to get that lot." And she said, "Had that vacant lot all those years." And see, Huber just grew up. They used to dig caves there and play. And one time, it was during the war, Nancy Hull and that Miller girl, Dr. Miller's daughter, they were Red Cross nurses. And Bob and Huber and I don't know who the other boy was, made a big cave, and they were roasting potatoes. And those girls wanted to get in and help roast potatoes. And the boys didn't want them in there. They wanted to tell them how to roast them. And the maid came over and she said, "What in the world's going on?" There were the boys chasing those girls up Hamilton Street. Those Red Cross bells are hanging and are flying, you know. And the boys wanted them to get out. And they used to get that dog Sport that we had to dig the hole to start the cave, and he'd dig and dig, and they'd get
How
in.
did they get him started? Put a
Oh,
bone there?
in that vacant lot. Well, I don't know how they do. They get him to dig. He was an awful digger, and he'd dig a great big hole. One day we came home, Pa and I, in a big snowstorm, And they were, it was at the time when Bentons weren't living there, when they moved away. And this dog dug I don't know if it was that dog or another one, but another dog on the same order, had dug a great big hole. They'd made a great big bank, and then they had him dig out. And they were always getting him to do things.
Looks like they'd have to put a bone or something.
Well,
to
maybe
get him
they did. I
started.
don't know how they started him, but that's what you do. So I think we have one picture. I think Huber has a picture of that sport standing on top of this cave. They kind of made a top for it, and he was standing on that. So, well.
What different dogs did Huber have? What were?
Well, the first one he had was Sport, and Pa always had a dog, but he'd never bring him home. His mother used to have them, but then he kept him and would take him down to the barn. But he said one day, and after Uncle Joe died, I thought, oh, he missed so much and died soon, and I said, oh, let Huber have a dog. He wants it so badly. And Pa said, it's going to be an awful lot of work for you. He said, you'll be sorry. You're going to be sorry. It's a lot of work. And so I said, oh, well, let him have it. So it was, Joe died in February. This was about March. It was for his birthday. And it was raining, and I can see Pa and Huber both. They had on raincoats, and they went over to to Lee's over on Columbia Terrace, isn't there? And they told him they had some nice dogs, pointers, that if they wanted to see him. And they brought them from the farm, and they had them in the garage. And Pa said, such a time those dogs kept getting under the car. They had cars there. And pretty soon I heard them coming. And when I came to the door, there it was raining. There stood Pa, and there stood Huber. Just going like holding that dog. Oh, he just didn't know
Was it a real little puppy?
A little puppy, and so, he was so thrilled. But I wouldn't let him have it in the house. And so, I know we must have had it in the basement that night, maybe. Well, then we fixed a place under the front porch, and Pa built a kind of another house under the front porch. And then he put straw in that. Every so often he'd put clean straw, and then we put a rag carpet across the front, and he could get in and out just to keep the wind out, And so that's where he slept then. The way we were talking about that the other night. During the war, they had parades, and this dog, we never let him in the house. Once in a while when I was gone, Hubert would sneak him in. And this one Sunday was, I think, a drive for a bond. And Pa was a Minuteman, and that's what tickled Hubert. He said, Pa, Minuteman? I said, well, he had a march. He went with the
what did they do?
well, I don't know. They marched. I said, I don't know what in case of war.
Well, they were kind of like
Defending our
home
country,
defenders
Yeah.
or
Well, anyhow,
civilian.
I just see Pa. We'd go out to Glen Park and sit there and watch him just tramp along. And Hubert was what was he, a Boy Scout? It was something in the war he had to do. What was it?
Red
Boy-
coat.
And I guess a Boy Scout. Guess that they had that. Because he had something in the parade.
Oh, Revolution.
Revolutionary.
War of 1812.
Oh, this was...
Red coat.
He's talking about World War One.
Well, I thought you meant something that was in commemoration.
No, it was
Oh, no.
whatever. I think it was just the Boy Scouts must have been there. And then I marched in the Red Cross nurse that day. And we were Red Cross nurses, had white things with a red thing. We used to go down to the Women's Club every Tuesday and sew, And so we all marched that day, and I'd had this ham for dinner. And Pa said all the time he was marching, he thought, oh, my, that ham's going to taste good when I get home. My, that ham. Because we all were in a hurry. And when I got home, he was standing on the front porch. He says, there's been a catastrophe. I said, what? Well, not too bad a one, not too bad a one. He said, Sport got in the house, and I had the ham in a casserole dish on that place that cupboard that looks out in the alley. And the dog, we were talking about how he just got in that dish and lifted that ham out, didn't knock the dish, and dragged it through the house, and just then Huber saw him, and he grabbed it, and when we came, Pa, he said, Pa, well, there's nothing wrong, I washed it all off, I wouldn't eat it, I don't know what we did. But Pa said, here, all the way home I was thinking I was going to have some more ham.
It's like our dog that ate the cake. Remember when Fran Becker gave us
Oh, yes.
cake and she pulled it down off?
Your friend to
Kitchen
this day doesn't know that.
No, I know she doesn't.
So I said, well, I can't imagine that I'd throw that ham away, because Hubert says, why, he just got his teeth in it, that was all. I said, yes, but he dragged it around. Oh, for years I had that spot in front of my front door, But, that was
What year did you remodel down there?
1929.
That was right after Hubert and Martha were
They were married in 28 November, and then in that fall, they went upstairs. So, and you remember every Sunday, your father'd come up after Lois and you'd go through, get through Sunday school, and then they'd come up and get us. We didn't have a car then. We'd go on those picnics out to Fry's.
Oh, yeah.
Fry's Timber.
Well, you mean Joe's father had a car and you didn't?
No, we didn't have, after Pa was out of the barn there for a while. He had some coming to him from like if he'd need a taxi or something, they'd send it, but we didn't have a car.
You've told about the
Well,
picnics you used to
He
have.
did at first, but then it was an old one that somebody, they used to make them over sometimes. This Irvin that worked for Pa got it to go, and then I don't know, we were taking a ride one day, and I had to take the thing off of my waist and hang on to the thing to keep, I don't know what it was doing. And finally Pa said, well, he didn't want that car anymore.
Well, what was the car? You had one when you mentioned going on picnics when we used to go out on Mossville Road where Feegers had their house. Wasn't that in Oakland?
Yeah, we had.
Well, we didn't have a car then. Because I can remember, gee, I thought that was so wonderful, that car.
Well, I don't know whether Pa had an Oakland or whether that was Mr. Camel's, but he wouldn't take Mr. Camel's the car
no,
out
I'm
there.
sure this was your car.
I believe Hubert. I kind of
Hubert
forget
was
the name.
probably, 8
he
or
had
10
two.
or
Yeah, well, that
12,
was
I don't
in
know,
Oakland
something
then,
like
because we had two cars. I can't think. One was, I guess, in Oakland. Then there was another one. One car, Harry Comerford had it, and it caught fire. It was when they were first beginning to get cars, And he had this car, and it caught fire in the backyard there behind where Comerford's are. And so he didn't want that. So this Irvin, whatever his name was, he was one of the men that took care of the cars down at the barn, the taxis and things. And so he got it in good shape, put a different, I don't know, motor or whatever it was in, and Pa bought that car. And I don't know whether that was Oakland or not. Then he bought another one that was kind of turned in that way too. But
well, somebody has a picture, either you or we or somebody in the family has a picture of that car, and I think Huber in a cowboy suit.
yeah,
It was taken out there, one of those pictures.
well, you sure it wasn't? The Trips never had an Oakland. They had a.
No, Trips had a Dodge.
Oh.
That's the kind you got.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
say, didn't you used to take trips out to Springdale? You used to tell them about those?
Oh, when we were when I was little, yeah.
You used to tell them, what did you?
Well, Herbert's and Uncle Charlie and Aunt Alice and my mother and father and I guess Aunt Olga too, and I'd go on Walter. We'd go out there and my mother'd pack a lunch. Imagine we'd sit there and eat a lunch, and they'd work on that cemetery and just do everything to it. But you see, that lot at that time had been so almost all the trees and the shrubbery and everything came from that place on Irving Street. Because when they lost that little girl, 3 years old, my grandfather bought that lot. And
Well, you mean they fixed it all up? Fixed the lot up?
well, I mean, they'd go out there and work and cut grass
Oh, I see.
and plant stuff and shrubbery, keep it all. Oh, it had loads of peonies, beautiful peonies. Lois used to take some big bouquets home sometimes.
Well, then you'd eat there right near the place?
We'd sit right in the cemetery. We had a great big green bench. I think they must have stolen things in those days. It had a chain on it. And we used to sit there on that bench and eat these great big rolls my mother made with bologna or ham or something. And that was another thing Uncle Charlie every Saturday night and sometimes Sunday nights especially. You wonder, they'd come up and they'd bring all kinds of bologna and stuff, liver sausage and things. And they'd have that, and Charlie gets so mad. He'd say, there they sit and eat all that, and I bring it up for Louise, and at home they don't touch it.
Yeah.
Well, I meant to ask you now, Grandma Kelton's name was Olga Carolyn.
Yeah, she was named for Aunt Lena.
Oh, I thought that which
Caroline.
That first
died,
child,
though?
Carolyn, her name was Carolyn.
It was
They
your
named-
sister.
It would have been my,
Lena's
yes.
like that name.
Well, she was named for Aunt Lena, I suppose, Carolyn. Well, then she died, so Olga was named Olga Carolyn.
Mm-hmm.
See, Aunt Lena was her godmother. I know when she was married, she always gave her some anything, sent her a lot of things then. But, well,
Well, what church was that? I mean, what church did your family belong to?
I didn't go to any church.
Well, I was wondering why they had godmothers.
I don't know.
You know, you usually connect
Yes,
that with
I don't know, but they always said Aunt Lena was her godmother.
mhm.
I don't know if
I
they.
guess it was more common in those days.
Maybe, I think sometimes that anybody that was a guardian was called a godmother too, possibly, or godfather. that was a set guardian, because it was so used in many churches, they probably just called anyone that was a guardian a godparent.
My folks sometimes used to, I don't think they went to church, but when when my mother died, they had Reverend Bess, and he had a church down there, I think it was a Lutheran church down there on Jefferson, or one of those streetcars used to go by there, you know. It was a streetcar, not a bus, it was a streetcar. And I know they used to go down there sometimes, and Bess would, and my mother used to do an awful lot of baking. Well, that was a turn of her eye, though, that she baked for those things. Joe went to the German school for a long time. I don't think Olga did. But
did your parents speak German when you were home?
They always talked German to me. And I know when I was I said to Irma Riker one time, when she was there, I was about 4, going on 5. I said, make her shut my dress. And she made fun of me, and Joe, I guess, heard, and he said, for heaven's sake, that girl's going to her child's going to school pretty soon. He said, get her so she can talk, don't have her talk German when she's living in America. He'd get so mad about that. And so by the time I went to school, I guess I could talk all right. And then when, after my mother died, one day I was walking down the street with my father, and I was jabbering away, you know, and he said, he said it in German, if your mother could hear you not talking German.
Tell us about, you know, after your mother died, and Grandma Kelt was kind of your mother, you know, she acted as your mother.
Well, after my mother died, Aunt Annie came to live with us. And she lived with us a year. And then Olga thought she used too much butter and things, and she said she had to keep asking Papa for more money all the time, and she didn't, you know, and she was kind of careful. And so anyhow, she wanted to run the house, so she asked Aunt Alice if she couldn't take Aunt Annie, so she did. And so then Olga kept house, and she did all right. So then finally we had a Miss Slocum come and live with us. And she was taking music lessons, and she.
Was that Ella Slocum?
Ella
I can
Slocum.
remember that name somewhere.
Was she Grandma Kelton's age?
I don't know.
She was a real good friend of
Yeah, I imagine around her age, maybe a little older than Olga. And they used to go to plows, and we had 2 pianos in that front room, one here and one there, and on each side, and those 2 would practice, you know.
Which 2 of you furthered your piano music more, you or Olga?
Oh, I didn't do anything much. Olga did. She took lessons when we were living on Eaton Street, or Bryan. She was taking lessons then. So she took.
Well, she thought Harold Fine was wonderful.
Yeah, but at that time she took from a man by the name, I think his name was Kerner. I think that was his name. And finally he had a musical studio over there where I guess maybe it's torn down now. No, it's still there. You know where Langton? No, there's a lot there now. Where Langton's used to have a grocery store on the corner of Perry and Main. What's there now in that corner? Oh, Shake and Steak was there. Now it's a hat place, I believe. Well, upstairs she used to.
Beals.
Beals. Oh yes, she used to go upstairs there and take piano lessons.
Yeah, that's a corner that was originally, where Byerly's were first, originally when they first started
I'd
here.
forgotten that.
Yeah.
And then when, you know where Huber plays now, at the H Club, well upstairs the Hearsts owned that building, and they were great friends of our folks. And I remember Olga taking me when we lived on, Eaton Street, and my doll, and she'd have her doll, and we'd go over there, and we'd go up a back stairway, and Huber says, I bet I can see that stairway. I keep asking him, and of course I've never been that place since then, but they were saying when Ann and, Ab lived up there, about the different rooms and things, and I said, all I can remember is being in kind of a back room. I thought it was an attic or something, I don't know, and looking over on Hamilton Street.
Well, did they remodel the outside of that building then? It looks newer, doesn't it?
Well, the outside looks like it might have
They
been.
must have
probably
remodeled
was,
it,
because
I didn't think it was that old.
Oh yeah, it was there when I was a little girl.
Did you enjoy the opera much when they had the house here?
The Opera House.
The opera.
Oh yes, I should say.
Did Uncle Kit used to take it?
Yes, oh my yes. He liked it, and there were good shows then too, you know.
Can you tell us of any of the funny people at Peoria? You know some of those people you told us about.
Oh, there are so many funny people. I'll tell you about Aunt Millie used to say, she'd go, let's see, she and Aunt Albina, after Aunt Albina's husband was dead, went to a funeral, And so I believe Aunt Albina said, come on in and have a cup of coffee. Aunt Albina was awful close. Oh, she was so close. So they went in and had a cup of coffee. So Aunt Millie said, well, now, someday you come over and we'll have coffee at our house. In just a few days, I think Aunt Albina was there. She said, Ma, you come quick for your coffee. Oh, they were funny. So
You used to tell about some woman that went in the fruit market and she wanted to serve herself down there where Uncle Kit used to go to Illinois Fruit, and they didn't let her serve herself and she got so mad. Who was that?
Well, that was a Mattie Tripp. You mean right there near the store?
Mhm.
Yeah, Mattie Tripp used to go in there, you know, and she'd go to pick out her celery and things, and they wouldn't let her. And then, she just got furious about it because they wouldn't let her handle all
They
of
still are
it.
that way, I think.
Yeah. I know she said one day that Willie Miles went in and she went to get something, and he said, this here is just the same as that down there. So she said she never went back again. But you know, they could kind of mess things up. It was some of the fruit, you know, when it was fresh. I know Pa said that when he was there on Washington Street with Camel, a lot of the people would come in and they'd handle a lot, push and pinch it around a lot. Mr. Camel would get awfully sore about it.
Because she can't hurt salary and
No.
Well, they weren't selling to retail.
No, but he meant some of those
Buy.
men that came in to buy, you know. And with Mr. Camel, Pa said, of course, he was one of those. He just only wanted toady to the real uppity. He was what do you call it, codfish aristocracy, the kind that wants to be up and never had anything. As soon as Pa bought in with him, he had his dress suit made over and he got built a house. And he was just about ready to not have anything. Well, anyhow, and he'd say, oh, Kit, why do you bother with those men? Pa sell those Italians, and called them Dagos then, all these bananas that were beginning to get ripe and possible. Their money's just as good as anybody else's money, and the other people, the Bartlett and Drain, those people wouldn't buy those things. And when those bananas would get real ripe, Pa'd sell them to them. But he said it's a whole lot better doing that than throw it in the waste.
You said Bartlett. There was
Pete Bartlett.
There was a Bartlett store,
Grocery.
wasn't there?
Pete Bartlett.
It was right there at the corner by the hotel.
later it was right.
Yeah.
Is what?
Wright's grocery
Yeah.
store.
Well,
There was
Bartlett,
Bartlett's before that. I can remember
first,
that name.
Pete Bartlett's father, and Pete had the grocery store next to the corner where Benton's drugstore was. Oh, excuse me. I forgot. Oh, is that still going? Oh, good land, all the stuff I'm telling. Well, there was that grocery store on, you see, the Benton's drugstore was where the Lehman building is now.
Mm-hmm.
And the library was upstairs. Above
Upstairs
that.
above the drugstore?
Above the drugstore. And that's the first place I ever went to get a library book. Joe took me up there to she was
Peoria
Mrs.
Public Library.
Mm-hmm. And her name was Brendel. She married Helen Herschel's, she was Helen Herschel's mother afterward. And they had some doctor's offices there too. And right next door was Pete Bartlett's father and his grocery store, and he worked there. And they'd have potato chips there, and oh, we just thought that was the most wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
They came in kind of barrels, and oh, we just thought to get potato chips was like getting, oh, I don't know what now.
They were probably new then.
Yes, and well, and then they always had black and brown cats down their basement, tortoiseshell cats, and they were wild. Just you could hardly touch them when they first came home. And Joe'd always bring one of those home. Always had one of those cats. And then when it would die or something, we'd get another one. They were wild as could be at first, though.
You know, you mentioned potato chips. I can remember when I was in, I don't know, there's in first or second year, I guess it was in grade school. But the Metzols lived down on Butler Street, you know. And Claude and his brother somehow knew somebody who was making potato chips. It was up near Aunt Irma's. It was up on Spencer or somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So Claude was going to go out selling potato chips door to door, and I went with him. And I can remember I went to Aunt Irma's and she didn't buy any. And that made my mother quite mad. You know. She felt that she should have bought some.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
Well, you didn't tell what year Uncle Joe was married, did you?
I thought I did in
Yeah.
1896,
And then he died in
1917.
1970.
And Olga was married in 100, the year I graduated from high school. And the night that Olga was married, Pa wasn't at the barn then. He had gone down to work for Lyons, Mr. Lyons, William Lyons, had gone in business with him. And so they had ordered a carriage from the Palace Livery, and it got to be time for the train went at 11 o'clock at night, and the carriage didn't come, and finally they didn't wait any longer. They called again, and so Joe and somebody, I don't know who, one of your uncles, just grabbed Olga and mine and just put them on the streetcar and rushed. They just got on that train in time. So the next day I went over to Pa's and I said something, and he said, "Oh, that's the way they run things down there. They don't watch anything anymore because they didn't keep very good tab on it." So you see, he wasn't in business. He worked for his cousin Bob Samus and helped him, but he never would go in business because Bob was a poor manager. Well, then when Butler came in, Pa went back again, went in with him. So
That was more, he wondered if I wanted to go along downtown, but I told him that.
If you want to do what?
Go along downtown with him. But I told him that Alma was here.
Is he going down to the hospital?
Yeah, no, just downtown, but I thought maybe, I think it would be fun some Sunday if he and Pam and I would go down and eat like we used to.
Oh, is Pam going with him tonight?
No, I don't think so. Oh, we've got about a little more than a quarter of an inch of tape. Half inch, I guess.
Don't ever let anybody hear that.
Well, there are a lot of things you could have told us and they could have asked.
Well, you asked her about
Yes,
that.
ask some more.
What about the society families of Peoria? Which ones were the prominent ones that you can recall and that...
Oh, the Stones.
You always have some things that you want to ask her.
Stones and the Green Huts and
The Green Hut woman was the friend that Grandma Kelton went to see, do you remember? And she wasn't quite normal.
yeah, she
Didn't they used to have doors at their house?
what was her name? She was kind of funny.
I'll tell you something funny you ought to tell about. We were talking about the other day, this was when Grandma Kilton and you and Tommy and Uncle Kit ate down at Mary's
Mary's restaurant,
Mary's
and
restaurant.
Olga gave Tommy some money to buy some candy, and he bought some candy. And I didn't want Tommy to do that, and I took it out. Oh, and she got so mad. She said, "I dare not letting a little child buy candy for someone." And she put it in his pocket, and it all melted. And then she got mad. She said, "We're going this way." And she walked up the street, and we went the other way, and it was shady. And then we met there, and she just wouldn't look at me.
I remember that.
And she's told you that day about how one time Huber and Joe got into a fuss or something, and I spanked Huber, slapped him, and she said, I think she wanted to slap Joe too, but she didn't.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
You told me
Up
that.
in the apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it? Well,
Oh, and then the next day was Labor Day.
Yeah. And she wouldn't come.
And she was supposed to come to your house,
Yes,
and
she
she
wouldn't
did.
come.
Oh, she wouldn't come because of that?
I don't know.
So then we went after her and took her down to Pekin for a hamburger. It was one of those cold,
Yeah, it
dreary
was kind
days.
of
And she
And I-
looked just about as gray as the day did. I think she was upset.
Yeah, she
Well,
was.
she used to, when she'd get mad at me, she'd say, when I was little, I suppose I was kind of an ordinary thing. And then another thing, she was old enough to know conditions and things, and with me, I had someone looking after me, so it didn't bother me
Yeah.
any, I didn't care, it didn't worry me much. And when I do things, she said, "You're just like your father."
Oh.
Oh, and another time when I was about 4 years old, or 5, something like that. I don't know, it must have been some holiday, and at those days they used to, well anyhow, they had a big garbage wagon or something, and it came up the alley there between Perry and Glendale, and our house was on the alley, on the side there. And I was all dressed up with an embroidered dress and a pale blue sash, and some of the kids in the neighborhood that were allowed to run around crawled in this old wagon. I got in there too. Boy, did I get it. And then I must have been awful. Then before Decoration Day, I picked all the peony buds off of the peony bush. And Huber says, well, what did you do it for? I said, well, why do kids do things? I don't know. Oh, and I remember how I got a whipping though. And my father, he was just having a fit because he never would lay a hand on anybody. And he kept saying, Louisa, Louisa. She didn't know any better. Louisa, Louisa. He always said Louisa, but he said it in German, you know. But, oh, I can remember that thing. Oh, I just had the best time I can just remember just as well pinching those buds off.
What did Sam do one time to Maury's garden? Sam did something to Maury's garden, didn't she? She was going to work in it and she messed it up.
Well, what happened
I've forgotten. She picked something you shouldn't have.
Huber, somebody, Honing gave him a peony bush. And Huber planned it. He wasn't too keen on it, but he planned it. And he said he read where you should take some of the buds off, so he pinched all the buds off. And we didn't have a blossom here, it didn't even a budge on. So I said, and I told him, he said, well, what'd you do it for? I said, well, maybe I was like you, thought they'd grow better, but I didn't. I just
You
wanted.
brought other flowers.
Yes, I just wanted to pick them. Well, funny. And then Christmas time, Josie Mushel would come to the house, and I almost know it was Josie. I just think it was. We were talking about Santa Claus and things, and she'd have a piece of a lace curtain on her head and kind of a veil, my mother's wedding dress on, and then she'd march around, and Hubert gets the biggest kick out of that when I tell him, I want to just be shaking to go in that room and still scared, and I'd be the first one in, and she'd go like this, and I'd have to follow her, and I'd go around. I wouldn't touch the thing till she got out.
Was she supposed to be Santa?
Well, the Germans had kind of a woman Santa Claus. His wife or something was supposed to come. Not Chris Kingle, but something else they called it. And they always had her dressed up.
They have to pay her?
Well, would you
Oh,
know?
she was a friend of ours.
Oh. Well, I thought maybe they had to pay her. They paid Wayne West.
Oh,
Well,
this was at our house.
I know, but he
Oh,
was
she's a friend of the family.
Yeah, money for it.
Well, he was a commercial Santa Claus.
She was the one that when Aunt Lizzie met Olga about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and she said, you have a baby sister, and Olga was just thrilled to death. She said she could just see all that whitewashing all the night. Oh, she was so tickled. Now the next day, Josie Mushel came up, and they were sitting on the gate post, and Josie was swinging her feet. She says, oh, well, I'll never have a sister. My mother's too old. Oh, so that was the funniest thing, you know, to say that. But the Mushels were some of the first friends that the folks had here in Peoria. Then during the Cleveland administration, you know, oh, my father would march in the parades and have those Roman candles, and we'd go down to the parade to watch that, you know, and you'll see that picture. Well, I don't know now for sure. But
Well, he was in politics,
my
wasn't he?
father
Was he an alderman? Or
well, he
what
was an alderman, and he had a number of, I think he was treasurer or something, and they said if he hadn't failed, that he was working up toward mayor. That they kind of
been the first lady of Peoria.
I wouldn't.
No, she didn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't born then.
Daughter.
But they always, I used to hear them say that if they hadn't failed, he would have worked up to him. He was a good bookkeeper, I guess, because they said when he was gauger that he never had a mistake or a thing wrong with any of his figures, anything. And some of the men that would have trouble with their books, he would straighten them up for them. Well, someone else talk.
I'm trying to think.
We're just about out. Just a few more sentences and we'll be out of tape. How long is each one of these? A half hour? It seems
Well, what speed are you running at? If
9.
it's a slow speed, I think you are.
Well, we've been talking about it.
It would,
These speeds are funny on here, right?
well, the lower position is slow and the upper one is faster speed.
Another thing,
So it's about a half hour. in one
after
second.
your mother and father, or not your mother and father, I mean Uncle Joe and Aunt Mamie were married, why they were going to have a reception, or a little reception or something at the house for 'em on 2nd Street, and so Olga, oh, she was just clean, she didn't know what to do, and Mrs. Dunn lived next door, said she'd help her, and Miss Mrs. Benton came down, brought some of her, I guess, Oriental rugs down there to make the house look better, and brought stuff down. Mr. Benton brought dishes and things, and they had ice cream, and it didn't cost us a cent. They paid for everything, and had little fancy cakes and things. Oh, we just thought, and they made, Alma said Mrs. Dunn helped her make coffee. She got a great big coffee pot from her, and so the people came there, and of course then afterwards, the next day when I went to school, oh, I had those fancy cakes to take, and oh, I was so proud. And Mattie Tripp, she was a funny person. She says, "Don't you hate them?"
She was jealous.
Yeah, sure. So we were sitting in the coat room eating our lunch, and I had some of those squares, and oh, I just thought it was so wonderful to be able to show something real nice, you know. And she said, "Don't you hate them?" Well, she was a funny person, but
You and Maddie start in first grade together?
no, I met her in 3rd grade.
Oh.
I'd come from Streeter, you know. We were over there, and so I didn't go to school the rest of the year until we were up on 2nd Street, and then I started in September again. Well, then they put me back in 3rd grade to see how I'd get along or something, and so I didn't have any books or anything. I sat with Mattie, and she kept talking all the time, and Miss Abel called on her, and she'd lost the place. She said, "My glasses weren't clean, I couldn't see." And she was telling me about it all. So then, finally, then they put me into, I skipped a grade, and I went on to 5th grade. But Mattie finally was up with me again, and we went through.
Did Trips live up there on Crescent when you moved there? Was
Oh,
that
they
after?
built the year you did. Same year, month you
Oh.
moved into your house, they moved into theirs. And
Repetition.
we moved the next year.
Uh,
We didn't build right away, so,
Well, was that Lincoln School you went to?
yeah. Well, first I went to the Park School, which was the first high school built in Peoria. And I mean, we had something that the Irving School, they rented the upper part of the old Irving School down on Jefferson for high school, and then they finally built that high school near the park, and that's where May Keach graduated. And then when I went to school, it was called the Park School, and it only had 6 grades. And then I had to go 7th and 8th grade in the old Lincoln on Munson and 6th. And I graduated there in 1896. So, but Mattie and I were together from then on.